Ms. Golar?
You
Can you hear me? We have been given the go-ahead, Ms. Golar, if you're ready.
I am. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to convene our Board of Education open session and ask that Vice President Jen Anderson gavel and call the time.
6:30 p.m.
Thank you. And now we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance by a student from Wild Rose School of Creative Arts, and we'll ask Principal Ramos to introduce.
Good evening. My name is Paige Ramos, and I'm the proud principal at Wild Rose School of Creative Arts. Welcome, Board President Golar. We missed you. Superintendent Dr. Smith, Cabinet, and distinguished guests. My friends are going to introduce themselves because they're from the School of Creative Arts, and we do just that. Ready?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Camila Gastaneda.
My name is Joseph McIver. My name is Michaela Malacerdoff.
Mi nombre es Vanessa Castro. Please stand for the flag salute. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ahora en español.
Yo juro lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos.
Puede sentarse.
Okay. Cabbage. Joseph. Wait, Joseph.
I guess that's true.
Have a wonderful Wednesday, and remember, knowledge is power, and you've got the power. The power of CPR, caring, perseverance, and respect. And the crowd goes wild!
Well, thank you, Principal Ramos. It's our tradition. It's our tradition to take a photo with our pledge leaders.
Thank you. We do have a little presentation. We're going to do that now or next? Okay. So we just want to go ahead and start by recognizing our students who did a great job. And next slide we can go to. And just learning through the arts, some of the things that we've done recently with our watercolors after school has been really phenomenal program ran by Mrs. Milicerdoff, also with the help of Johanna Prather and Mrs. Lopeland also helped out as well. Pictures of our music wall and the things that are going on campus. And also during Kindness Week, we had a door decorating contest and all of our students participated in that. So there's a couple doors there. We had a hard time picking. We were supposed to have one winner. We had 3. And then we awarded the whole school with a little extra time at recess. So we've been having a great job learning through the arts, enjoying ourselves. And the next slide. Willy Wonka was a great production that you all saw. And next up we have dun, 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 Aristocats coming April 29th and 30th. So we're really excited for that. Hopefully you can join us there. We're really pleased to have this show for TK through 5th grade, this show. So it's going to be a big one for us. And our World's Fair. So we just want to advertise that Friday, May 12th will be our World's Fair, where we celebrate cultures from around the whole world at Wild Rose. So if you can join us, those are some pictures from last year. We just had a great time celebrating. So hopefully you can join us then. Thank you.
Miss Ramos, can we get your children assembled so we can take a photo, please?
Okay. Thank you, Principal Ramos, and our students from Wild Rose Creative Arts School. And now we will have our roll call, and I believe all are present except for Board Clerk Rob Hammond, who is en route. Is that correct, Dr. Smith?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so let the record show that all are present, and we are awaiting the arrival of Board Clerk Hammond. Okay, order of business. We have our board agenda, and I would like to ask if there are any changes to that agenda this evening.
President Golar?
Yes.
I am requesting to pull an item from consent, and that is that item in regards to agreement with Food Ed for maintenance of elementary school sites, outdoor learning spaces. As you know, I talked to you about that.
Okay, so I believe that is item 1 in
Yes.
consent. So
Yes.
we're going to pull item 1
And put it in action.
and put it in action.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Do we have
I'll leave it up
other-
to you, President Golar, if you want to put it at the beginning of action items or at the
Yeah.
end. Up to you.
It could just go 1 for 1. Let's
Okay.
do it that way.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any other changes to our agenda? Okay. Hearing none, we will then go for approval of last meeting's minutes. So we need a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Uh-oh, we have 2 seconds.
That's okay. Miss Becerra will sort it out.
Sort it out for us. Okay. And if we could, Ms. Becerra, please call the vote.
Board Member Lockerbie,
Yes.
Board Member Travanti,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board President Golar.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Okay. Thank you. And we are at our recognitions and communications, our employees of the month for the month of March. And I believe we have each of the the principals from our school sites. So we'll go according to what's printed in the agenda. Brad Oaks Elementary, Principal Nichols, please.
Good evening. I'm looking to see if Robert's here. I don't see him today. Well, Good evening. Thank you, Board President Golar, members of the board, Dr. Smith, and cabinet, members of the community. It is a pleasure to be in front of you today. I am so proud to be the principal of Brad Oaks Elementary Science Academy. And with me tonight, I have a bunch of staff. We are here to recognize two individuals. The first one we have is our lead custodian, Robert Crowder. He could not make it tonight, but I'm going to head to read this as well. Robert Crowder has worked at Brad Oaks for over 26 years. I will have you know that when I asked about how long he's been here, he said 26.27. Does that sound like Robert? Okay. All right. As our lead custodian, he is someone that takes pride in his work and is always willing to help. Robert takes his responsibility seriously and still knows how to have fun. He is dependable, resourceful, and a Vikings fan. Robert has built a wonderful rapport with all of our members in the Bobcat community. There are neighbors who will still come and visit him even when their student has moved on to middle school or elementary just to check on him. And I asked our staff to give me words and phrases to describe our two award recipients. And Robert's, and I made it into a little word art. You can see this right here. And you have here, some of the words that are on here are dedicated, helpful, caring, good sense of humor, honest, patient, welcoming, and a problem solver. Robert, thank you for all that you do. Give him a hand. Dr. Povinelli, will you come and stand with me, please? Dr. Povinelli has been a teacher at Brad Oaks since 2011, and I believe has taught kindergarten through, it's 2001, sorry, and has taught kindergarten through second grade? Correct. All right. This year, she took on a new role as interventionist and has hit the ground running. You would never know this was her first year. She has a brilliant mind. She's flexible and a creative problem solver. And in addition to that, she has the biggest and kindest heart ever possible. She has a beautiful way of connecting with others and learning their story. Heather deeply and genuinely cares about her students and will go the extra mile to ensure that they succeed. Heather is an outstanding educator and is well respected by all. She is happy to share her knowledge and will make how-to or informational videos just for the staff to share her knowledge, and she loves to join in their collaboration as a thought partner. Some of the words that staff use to describe Heather are patient, has a tremendous knowledge in education, reflective, inclusive, caring, diligent, creative, great sense of humor, kind, always sees the best, wise, innovative, outstanding, yes, I'm going on, reaches all students' hearts, and is a tech whiz. Thank you, Heather, Dr. Povinelli, for all that you do for our students and our community. We treasure you. And this is hers.
Can we get a photo with Dr. Nichols and Dr. Povinelli?
Okay, congratulations. And then we have to bring Principal Ramos of Wild Rose School of Creative Arts back to the podium.
Thank you. Tonight we have the privilege of leading a lot of things. We have the Pledge of Allegiance, we're highlighting our school, and also honoring a few of our amazing staff members. I would like to start by acknowledging our first employee of the month. He is known as the heartbeat of our school. He has a can-do attitude and is always willing to help. He not only takes care of the front office, but also fills in as counselor, custodian, campus assistant, nurse, tech support. I could go on and on. Whenever we are in need, we know that we can count on this individual to help get the job done. In addition, he serves on our leadership team, safety team, PTA, and plays a key role in our show-stopping performances. He humbly carries a coffee cup around campus that reads, "The man, the myth, the legend." He's been a recipient of the Magnificent Monrovian Award, just ask him, and the Soaring Eagle Award, and much more. Please join me in celebrating our office manager, Mr. Todd Bogdan.
Sorry we were late, we both fell asleep.
I would also like to recognize a phenomenal teacher on campus. She is known for her calm and caring demeanor and always has a smile on her face. She is always willing to help others and support the needs of her colleagues. Being a new mommy has not slowed her down, and she continues to strive for excellence within her classroom. She's our dual immersion second grade leadership team member, MTA union representative, gate coordinator, and so much more. Staff members describe her as a welcoming, helpful, and great resource. Her classroom is full of creative lesson, design, and artistry. Without any further ado, please join me in celebrating Giovanna Gonzalez. Thank you.
Again, congratulations to the employees of the month for the month of March at Wild Rose. Now the recognition of Monrovia Unified School District social workers as a part of the National School of Social Work Week.
Board President Golar, Dr. Francois is headed to the podium now to do the introductions.
Excellent, thank you.
Good evening, Board President Golar, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Smith, members of cabinet, and guests. We are delighted to have Maricela Fernandez here with us. Maricela is the first school social worker hired in the history of the Monrovia Unified School District, and she's off to a phenomenal start. I'd like to have her come up and join me. A couple things about Maricela. So she's a clinically licensed school social worker. She supports all 5 elementary school sites, as well as Canyon Oaks and Mountain Park. And since starting with us on December 12th, she's really hit the ground running, has been nothing short of being exceptional at all the sites. It's been a pleasure to collaborate with her, to see her collaborate with our school counseling teams, as well as our site leaders, working to meet the needs of students, staff, and families. So I'm gonna have her go and share a few slides with you, just to give a little snapshot of some of the things that she's been up to for the last couple months.
Hi, thank you, everyone. Good evening, board members. Good evening, families and teachers. Thank you, Dr. Francois, for inviting me here. I'm just honored and privileged to be a part of such a distinguished school district. And so, yes, I'd like to share some of the highlights of the work that I've been doing. So if we can. So we've been focusing on kindness activities. I've been working alongside the school counselors and just really promoting the social emotional development and, you know, just finding different activities throughout the school. So for example, at Brad Oaks, I worked with a counselor there, Ms. Shala, and we did the kindness assemblies and talked about empathy and how it's important to be kind to each other because that makes us feel good and our friends feel good. And kindness trees were put up at different school sites as well. Monroe, we did the Be Kind Cups lunch activity. The students there were just helping out, putting up a message to be kind. At Plymouth, we also did the kindness tree. As you can see, the little kindness heart, filling buckets, right? That was also another lesson that we did just to promote kindness. Wild Rose, we got into the chalk activity. Got a little messy, but just so beautiful to see all the beautiful messages that the students shared. And it was just such a wonderful experience because it was an opportunity to connect with the students in different ways. So it's been beautiful just to see it all. And also another, you know, just to continue with the kindness activities, I've been doing kindness lessons. And so teachers have been really happy to hear the have you filled a bucket story, because, you know, as we fill our friend's bucket, we also fill our own bucket. So that's just beautiful to see as well. And I've been having opportunities to connect with parents, you know, coffee with the principals, and as well as staff. So just sharing my flyer just to list, you know, some of the things that I do, bringing resources, supporting with attendance. So at Plymouth, we did the Little Dragons, and just, you know, telling students we want to see them every day at school, because when they're at school, they're connecting with each other and they're learning. And had a great opportunity to be invited to Family Literacy Night at Brad Oaks. And I had a chance to demonstrate the lesson on the feelings thermometer and, you know, describing how, you know, being aware of your feelings really helps us with just finding ways of self-regulating. So important, especially with our little ones. So just so many opportunities, and I'm excited for the work that I'm going to continue to do here. So thank you so much, everyone.
If we can get a photo with, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
That's okay. I just want to say thank you. I am glad you're here. Really, thank you for choosing us.
Now we can do a photo. Okay.
Okay. All right. I think we're ready for our board member reports. And I will go with, let's go with Celine Lockerbie, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Last week, I think it was actually the week before last, MYLB, Monrovia Youth Baseball League, had their opening day. It really was great to see so many kids from the community with their families participating in America's pastime. Some of them were just so little. Dr. Smith was also there, just little ones, starting right from the start. And it was boys and girls too. And it was really wonderful to see so much of the community participating in that. And also, I believe it was their first time being able to be on Santa Fe's field. Is that correct?
Just to clarify, it was in the gym just because of the rain. I don't believe this.
Yes, but they're playing when they start playing this year. I believe he said it was Mr. Dietz said it was their first time playing on Santa Fe's field. No. Okay.
No, they've used the field historically there in the past. I think the celebration part and being able to use
being in the gym and not on the
thing.
field. So. And they are definitely back in force. There were a lot of people there, and it was really, despite the weather, it was a great celebration. So I appreciate being able to be in attendance and participate in that. Looking forward to a lot of great games. And also last week, Monrovia High School Drumline participated in SCPA, which is the drumline competition. And MHS actually hosted that. There were hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of people on the MHS campus last weekend, and it was great to watch all of the performances. I think that MHS was the best performance, but of course I'm a little partial. I believe their performance was called Vampire Dance. It was vampire themed, and it was really exciting to watch and see the enthusiasm and see all of the kids there. And it's great, since we were the host, to have that backdrop there with MHS. So it was really a really exciting weekend. So congratulations to MHS Drumline. Looking forward to seeing more of those performances in the future. And those are my two board reports.
Thank you, Board Member Lockerbie. And if we can go to Board Member Travante.
That's me. Thank you, President Golar. I have a couple of items that I wanted to talk about. First, last Thursday was Read Across Monrovia, and that's a wonderful program that Monrovia Reads puts on every year. And because of COVID, it had gone virtual, so a lot of us were reading and going to the KGM studio to have our reading recorded, but it was really nice to be back in classrooms. And this year, I was able to read at Brad Oaks to a wonderful second grade class, Miss Johnson's class, and those kids were amazing. I loved their questions and how interactive they were. And the books that I chose were all about stories of bears and moose. Well, if anybody knows me, I love moose. I mean, I've got this thing for moose. And so I made, I do have an antler, an actual paddle at home that was given to me, and I promised that I would go back and bring the antler for a little show and tell to go with the book. So that was enjoyable, and I know a lot of people in our community and staff members participate in that and read to students in our schools. So a great program, and thank you for Monrovia Reads for putting that on every year. It's a great effort. The other item I wanted to speak to is this week during the Monrovia Rotary Club meeting, they held what is called the four-way speech contest, and that's an annual contest, and we had 3 finalists from Monrovia High School join us, and they gave their speech during our meeting, and it was phenomenal. And all I can tell you is the future's bright. We're in good hands because these students were wonderful. And I do want to name them Our first place winner was Guadalupe Hilario, and she's 11th grade at Monrovia High School. Yes, well done, really well done. Second place, Yasmin Siam. She's a 9th grader. Yes, freshman. And third place was Jack Heatherly, and he is a senior. So congratulations to the 3 of them. There is money that goes with these winners, by the way. Yeah. And thank you to the Monrovia Rotary for putting that on. And that's the end of my report.
Excellent, thank you. And now, Vice President Anderson.
Thank you very much. I also have a couple of board reports. The first one that I have here, I have the wrong page. I don't know what happened to it. Well, I think I might just be doing this on the fly. And forgive me, because then I'm probably going to forget some names. All right, let's suppose there's so many papers here tonight. I don't know. I don't know what happened to it. So I'm going to just do my best. Is it in my bag? No, it is not. I don't even remember the date because I'm a little bit out of sorts. I had the opportunity to visit the Femineers at Brad Oaks last week with a host of us. Dr. Smith was there, Dr. Francois, Dr. Puccia, as well as several teachers, Ms. Dickinson and Mr. October, and Principal Dr. Nichols at Brad Oaks. And what struck me was how deeply engaged these students were. There were approximately a dozen. They were building servos and connecting them to a computer so that they could program them. Dr. Jerome might have also been there. Yes, I believe you were that day. Maybe not. Now I can't remember. I knew I'd probably forget. They were really deeply rooted in their learning, and not only were they excited to show us what they were doing, but when they would complete the task, they would challenge themselves to do something a little different, learn a little more. I met one of your sons, Dr. Ritzau, introduced me to him to say he was your child, and then you can see there in the upper left. Let's see if I can see that. We have a couple of young women there programming the servos, and then they put a pulley on there. And then in the upper right, when we were all done, they were showing us some string art that they've showcased here at a previous board report. And then down at the bottom there, just more work at hand. And in addition to them being very invested in this learning, I was so grateful that we had the opportunity to purchase a kit for all of the kids, because it was really striking how critical that one-to-one correspondence with a kit was, because it means the kids were all getting the independent learning at that moment instead of a vicarious experience. One of the things we discussed was how this will feed into our robotics program. And that's often a challenge for the kids because they build one robot and you don't have 15 kids' hands on one robot at one time. But this gives our elementary and middle school students in the Femineers program the opportunity to build those skills as they enter into hopefully our robotics program down the road. It also allowed the students that were so enthusiastic that they couldn't wait the entire week to come back so that they could bring their kit home and practice more on their own. So thank you. I had a very eloquent way of sharing all that, I'm sure, on my cheat sheet here, but thank you, all of you, for supporting that, bringing that to us. I'm really excited about that future. And on a side note, we have our championship robotics competition at the high school this Saturday, so I'm hoping some of those kids can go see it as well. And then I'm ready to go to the next slide, Ms. Becerra. Thank you. I was at Brad Oaks a lot in the last week. This one was a project-based learning civics lesson. I call it How to Learn About Equity, Empathy, Advocacy, and Math While Gardening, because there's a lot packed into this project-based learning. At our last board meeting, I reported out on the PBL lesson that our TOSA Ms. Shea brought to Mr. October's 5th grade students at Brad Oaks. On March 6th, we celebrated in the culmination of this lesson by having our students plant Westringia and rosemary in a large planter area on which their previous geometry lesson had focused. These two plants, both native and drought tolerant, were selected by the students and approved by our greens crew as appropriate and beneficial for this location. Here you can see several photos of our students planting these plants with the help of Mr. Kevin, Mr. Mike, and Mr. Mike, who is our greens team that helped prepare the area in advance. Another part of this project was for our students to share an idea that they had to make the world a better place. I want to thank Christian for sharing his fully accessible playground idea with me. You can see that on the right-hand side. The reason I point this one out in particular, aside from the fact that Christian was a very generous young man to share his design with me, is that it's a perfect example of the emotional intelligence that is underscored throughout this PBL project. What I learned through this process was that while the terms equity, empathy, and advocacy might be unfamiliar to our students, they sure know what they are, and they bring these ideals and behaviors with them to school every day. I'm really proud of these kids. I want to thank Dr. Giroux and Dr. Nichols, who joined me in presenting Mr. October, that's in the bottom right, with a certificate of appreciation for his participation and contribution to the PBL pilot program, Ms. Shea for her dedication for bringing opportunities like this to our classrooms, Mr. October and his students for eagerly embracing this challenge, and our Greens team, Mr. Kevin, Mike, and Mike, who worked alongside to support our kids and beautify our Brad Oaks campus. And a side note, it was easy for me to remember their names because my brothers' names are Kevin and Mike, so it was very easy to do. And then finally, it was a busy 2 weeks. This slide is a culmination of two events that were back to back. The first was on March 2nd, and it was a series of learning walks that I participated in at Santa Fe Computer Science Magnet School and Monrovia High School, along with the district leadership, Jen McDermott, and from the Center of Educational Leadership, and administrators from our secondary school sites. These pictures show on the upper left Mr. Chi welcoming students as they entered to begin a class. Then down below, a student placing an affirmation into the envelope of a fellow student, which kind of goes along with the kindness trees. Then over to the bottom right, there is a picture of math students working with partners as they work through a lesson with Mr. Zeman. And then on the bottom right, there's one of many social contracts in Mr. Katie's classroom. We started off at Santa Fe with Mrs. Perez, Santa Fe's principal, requesting our help to give her feedback as to how her teachers were improving with creating welcoming learning environments and engaging student learners in select classrooms. There were established look-fors and observation norms from the 5D framework that we've been using, also commonly known as the 5 dimensions of teaching and learning. After the learning walks at Santa Fe, we reconvened at MHS, and we walked classrooms with the goal of providing Mr. Ayala with specific feedback on lesson assignment, student engagement, and checking for student understanding measures. The debrief lessons for both schools were very powerful. Both principals expressed their gratitude for the feedback offered by the group and found that the process was extremely valuable for their professional growth. I want to thank all the teachers that were part of these learning walks, not only at Santa Fe and MHS, but throughout the year. It takes courage to willingly place yourself in a position to be examined by others, and I appreciate their selflessness to help all of us work to improve our skills at learning walks, which will advance our collective ability to increase positive outcomes for our students. I'm really looking forward to joining the team again on our final learning walk of the year on April 27th, when we'll walk select classrooms at Plymouth and Mayflower Elementary Schools. And then the upper two right is the following day, March 3rd, we had The principals and educational services staff, along with CEL, come back together, and you can see us, we're hard at work there as a group effort. This team learned how powerful and instrumental collective efficacy is for improving student learning. It was a wonderful experience working with our site leaders, engaging in reflection and discussing what each site needs to improve in developing systems of targeted feedback cycles to improve teaching and learning at their respective schools. The last few weeks have obviously been very busy for me regarding the opportunities at MUSD, and I first want to apologize to anybody I may have inadvertently missed in thinking throughout the lengthy board reports tonight, and secondly, want to once again express my gratitude to Dr. Smith and his team who are working so hard to bring these wonderful additions to Monrovia. Please know this does not happen by accident. This is all well thought out, carefully designed, curated, and implemented to help support our mission, vision, and focus areas. But none of this would happen without the support of our Board of Education. I am so grateful to serve alongside such dedicated individuals who work together for the benefit of our students. I know firsthand how much time, reading, learning, and energy it takes to be fully informed and prepared to make the decisions that we do, and I want to thank you for it, as well as your collective vision and the enthusiasm it takes to support it. Thank you, and I apologize for the length. That concludes my report, Ms. Golar.
Well, thank you each for those wonderful, informative board reports. And we have now our student board member report. And I believe Sarah Tripp there she is.
Hello. I'll have to clear my
Yes.
throat. Good evening, Board President Golar, members of the board, Dr. Smith, members of the cabinet, and members of the community. Canyon Oaks and Mountain Park schools are very busy getting ready for our WASC accreditation visit starting March 20th through March 22nd. We are excited to show the visiting team and community stakeholders the amazing programs we have here. Our school staff and student body are prepared to renew our accreditation and continue to show how the Mountain Lion Pride is an exceptional place to learn and earn a diploma from. We are also excited that we have partnered with the Monrovia Community Adult School to give our students access to the construction and medical assisting programs. Through special funding, our students can now enroll in these programs as seniors and earn both industry-recognized certifications as well as college credit. During the month of February, Citrus College made 2 visits to campus to meet with seniors and from both Mountain Park and Canyon Oaks, and interested seniors were able to learn about the Promise program, which provides 2 years of free tuition for students. Citrus College representatives will continue to help all interested seniors complete the application as well as discuss course registration and a future campus visit. And that will conclude my report for March. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful events happening. Okay, I believe next we have Dr. Smith, our superintendent's report.
Thank you, Board President Golar. Good evening, members of the board, community, friends, teachers, staff, cabinet. Just one quick thing, really. But before I do, I'm so glad that Ms. Lockerbie mentioned Monrovia Youth Baseball, because that was a pretty neat event. My only disappointment was that there was no Padres team. We had Dodgers and we had all those other teams, and no Padres represented, considering Padres I think they're the best team in Southern California. At least they were last year. Ooh, ouch. Too soon. Flashbacks to what happened in the playoffs. Anyways, I only have one thing to report on because I think our board members did a spectacular job of kind of highlighting a lot of the fantastic work that's happening in the district. The day after our last board meeting was the annual Children's Art Festival to celebrate Black History Month. That was a joint venture between our district and the Monrovia Duarte Black Alumni Association. And it was a terrific event. Every year, the student artwork seems to get better and better and bigger and bigger. And it's just such a great celebration, not only of the theme of the month, which is obviously Black History Month, but also to celebrate unity and togetherness and connection in one really nice forum. I'm grateful to the city of Monrovia for allowing us to use the room that we were all in, because it was really, really great. The community center, thank you. I'd like to give some acknowledgement to several people for working together to make that happen. First, from the Monrovia Duarte Black Alumni Association, Byron Hurst, Barbara Golar and Sharon Morris. From our district, I'd like to acknowledge Patrick Garcia, Morgan Hogan, as well as all of our teachers across the district for contributing in some way to the success of this event. I'd also like to thank Dr. Francois for his leadership and support, as well as our Public Information Officer, Gustavo Olguin, for constantly documenting everything that we do. We also had a special guest, Assembly Member Chris Holden, took the time to come out and say a few words and check out the art. That was my first time meeting him. And all I can say is that we are very lucky to have a member of the State Assembly like him, because I think he represents our community and our area and our region very, very well. We did make the news. Anytime you make the news for a good reason, you're doing well. And this is a very short clip from ABC7 that I'd like to share. I think this brings it home. Go ahead, please.
And in Monrovia, elementary students from local schools got a chance to show off their artistic talents at the 10th Annual Black History Arts Festival. The event took place at the Monrovia Community Center. The students created art pieces with help from art teachers and the Monrovia Duarte Black Alumni Association.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. So just wanted to celebrate and shine one more big light on not only that event, but also the culminating event for the month and for the celebration. It truly was spectacular. Madam President, that concludes my report for this evening.
Excellent, excellent event. Okay, well, we'll go to public comments. The Board of Education encourages public participation and invites you to share your views on school business. You hopefully have completed an addressing the Board of Education form and given it to our designee prior to the start of our meeting. And in order to accomplish our board business in a timely and efficient manner, public input is limited to no more than 3 minutes per person, per agenda or non-agenda item, totaling no more than 20 minutes per item. So, public comments for items not on the agenda. In compliance with the Brown Act, items not on the agenda legally cannot be discussed by the board tonight. We welcome your input, but are limited to asking clarifying questions and gather your contact information. Items requiring board discussion or action will have to be calendared for a future meeting so that all interested parties may be able to have input. Ms. Becerra, do we have any public comments tonight for items not on the agenda?
Yes, we do. First, I'd like to call Ms. Lambarin to the podium.
Thank you, Board Presidents Golar, members of the board, Superintendent Smith, Cabinet, and members of the community. Good evening. My name is Brisa Lambarin. I'm very nervous. I am a parent of a child who attends Monrovia High School. I would like to put everyone here tonight on notice of what is occurring every day in the restrooms of Monrovia High School. It's called slap boxing. This is a viral TikTok game. It involves two individuals rushing towards each other with hands flailing. Each person's hands must be completely open in an effort to make full contact with the other person's face. The two competitors must not flinch, duck, shrug, or dip their faces as the other continuously slaps them for at least 30 seconds. Some do it for fun. Some of these kids are bullied into participating, made to feel inferior, called names that cannot be said here on this podium. How dangerous is slapboxing? According to experts, slapboxing is violence. It's concerning. Neurologists have condemned it as repeated blows to the head lead to traumatic brain injury. The face and head, the particularly sensitive areas, and slapping can result in injuries like hearing damage, vision loss, and blindness. This new fad is not only affecting students at high school physically, it's affecting these students' mental health, including depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. There are students who refuse to eat water and drink food because they are too afraid to use the restrooms throughout the day at the school. They are afraid to use at the school, a place that should be safe, a place where they should not have to worry about being recorded over or under the stalls, taking pictures. If they are using the restroom, the other kids don't come in there trying to start a slap boxing match while they're urinating in the back room. I've seen these videos. They're posted all over social media. I have some of them if you'd like to see them. I am horrified hearing the stories and seeing these videos of what is happening in the bathrooms at Monrovia High School. I have called the high school. I have left messages. I have made them aware of what is happening. The only solution so far is we will call your child up and let him know that he can use a nurse's restroom when he needs to go. It's not only about my child. There's a lot of children at that school. I have been met with silence. I have been met with no solutions. My child is terrified to go to school on some days. Most days he wakes up, Mom, my stomach hurts. I don't feel good. I don't want to go to school today. Why? No, just because I don't feel good. My stomach hurts. Please have a security guard in the restroom. The solution is not to close most of the restrooms, as I've been told that most restrooms are closed and only a few are open that students can access. Monrovia is a huge school. The solution to this is not to close the restrooms. It's to find a way that kids can use the restroom while they're at school. We have to hold those accountable that are transpiring to hold these daily slapboxing events. I urge you to take the necessary steps to address this ongoing problem before someone seriously gets hurt. Take accountability and respond to the violent incidents that are occurring every day at Monrovia High School. With that being said, these kids record everything, post everything on social media. I have seen a lot of these videos that are very disturbing. Some kids are urinating in the background and people walk in there and start fighting. They're being recorded. Where is their privacy? Other kids are using the stalls because they have to go. Pictures are being taken over the stalls, under the stalls. Where's their privacy? If that was my child, I have not seen videos of yet, but if that was, I would be very upset. How is that fair? You go to work. What if somebody did that to you at work? That's not fair. My child didn't want me to come. He was very mad because I'm coming and speaking out. I went on social media myself. I posted it on Monrovia Happenings, Monrovia Moms, and a lot of parents spoke up on there. I have dozens of comments that you guys can look, that you guys can read, of parents talking about their kids, what's going on in the bathrooms. I don't know. I posted that we had a meeting tonight that they can come. No one's here. No one wants to speak up. But my child goes there. I came to school here. I went to Wild Rose. I went to Clifton. I went to Monrovia High. My kids are here now. I'm a concerned parent and something needs to be done. I want my child to be safe going to school here. I don't want him to be afraid. I don't want him to get bullied or made fun of because he's not participating. So something needs to be done. That's it.
Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. Are we certain that we have all contact information, Ms. Becerra, Dr. Smith?
Yes.
So that we can follow up. And Dr. Smith, I'm sure we've taken notes and we'll definitely follow up with this parent and our parents at Monrovia High School.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight.
I just wanted, is your name Miss Lamelin? Lambaron. Thank you for coming. And I know I have high school students too, and they always ask me not to speak up. And I'm glad that you came and I'm glad that you spoke up.
Ms. Becerra, do we have any other comments for items not on the agenda tonight?
Yes, we do. I'd like to call Mr. Dave Hart to the podium.
Okay, I had a quick question. If I have 5 items, do I get 15 minutes? Just checking. Okay. First, I'd like to thank Board President Golar, wherever you are. I hear your voice, but there you are. Board members, Dr. Smith, Cabinet, Leanna Becerra at the back, and community members. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. First, let's see. Let's go with old news, sort of. I wanted to thank Ms. Anderson and whichever other board members were able to go. I know Ms. Anderson was there, but Dr. Smith and a variety of principals and cabinet came to Santa Fe and were able to witness the exciting and great things that we're doing there at Santa Fe, capturing kids' hearts. And I wanted to quote Flint Fertig, who made the comment that it's clear that students at Santa Fe are cared for. And that's big. Then I'd like to shout out here to Miss Anderson. Pretty good for not having a cheat sheet. She did a pretty good job of laying out a whole plethora of information. So well done. I don't know if the date you were thinking of, Dr. Francois, May 1st, there's a huge Femineers happening down at Santa Fe. So invite everyone there if they can. I don't know. See Dr. Francois for tickets. Tomorrow is a fundraiser at Dickey's that benefits the Santa Fe PTA and students. So I want to invite you all to that. And then, it's on your agenda at the very back, but Santa Fe will be holding their open house on Wednesday, May 29th. So please mark your calendars, make sure you come. You guys all do a great job attending all of those, but Santa Fe's will be better than Clifton, just so you know. But that might just be a personal. But again, I want to just thank all of you for the hard work you do, and it is appreciated. I know at times you don't feel like it, but it really is, and we want to thank you I thank you very much.
Mr. Hart, what time is the fundraiser tomorrow?
All day.
All day.
Yeah.
Do we need to mention where?
Yeah, it'd help if you mentioned Santa Fe.
Okay. Thank you.
See how that works. Yeah. Santa Fe. Santa Fe Computer Science Magnet School. I think we have the longest name in the district. So.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. I had a clarifying question. I think you said the open house is May 29th.
No, I said March.
Okay, good. I was going to say,
I'm sure.
I know it usually is in May, but I wanted to make sure I had the right month.
We'll move it tomorrow.
It would be worse things than showing up twice, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. And Ms. Becerra, do we have any other comments for items not on the agenda?
No, there are no more.
Okay, and public comments for items on the open session agenda?
There are none.
And then public comments for items on the closed session agenda?
There are none.
Okay. Before we go to staff presentation, can the record show that Board Clerk Mr. Hammond has arrived and has joined our meeting? Excellent.
I apologize for my tardiness. Southwest Airlines just didn't care about having a board meeting tonight.
Well, we're very happy that you've made it safely. So, staff presentation, I will introduce then our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Jessica Garcia, and I believe she will then introduce our guests.
Thank you, Board President Golar, members of the board, Superintendent Smith, Cabinet, and members of the community. Tonight we have a presentation for you from Valerie Shaw. She is the auditing manager who is from Christie White and Associates. And what the firm has done for us is they have conducted what is known as the unaudited audit. So basically, us closing our financials for the fiscal year 21-22. They've come in and they've assessed it to see if we are in compliance, and there's different tests that they measure us on. And so tonight I'll introduce Valerie, and Valerie will go ahead and go over the report with you, and then she will also be available if you have any questions as well.
Thank you, Jessica. I'm happy to be here, even though I'm virtual. I was a little under the weather and didn't want to risk getting anyone else sick, so I'm keeping my distance from you all. But I'm happy to be here and happy to report about your audit report. As she said, it was the 21-22 audit year. And as the auditors, our responsibility is to give you an opinion that your financial statements, that we're giving you a reasonable assurance that your financial statements are materially accurate. So we don't give you an opinion about the condition of your financials, but just that they are reasonably accurate. So we test different areas, and one of the areas that we cover is your financial statements as a whole. And we look at both your substantive procedures, so we look at the balances that are made up of your, as she said, unaudited actuals. We look at all the balances, but we also look at controls and make sure that you have procedures and processes in place that are going to make sure that your balances are accurately stated. So we've been able to give you opinions on your financial statements, and the opinion that we've given you is unmodified, which is the best opinion we can give. So that's great news. We also give you an opinion on the federal compliance and all your federal dollars. And so we've been able to give you an unmodified opinion on your federal dollars as well. And then the final opinion that we give is over state compliance. And the state government gives us a checklist of things they want us to look at. And we've been able to give you an unmodified opinion on your state dollars as well. We had no audit findings, which is fantastic news. And we only had one audit adjustment, which related to the cash values at June 30. And one of the requirements for reporting is that your cash is reported at fair value. And typically in past years, the difference between the fair value of your cash and your actual book value of your cash wasn't significantly different. But given the state of the economy at June 30 of 2022, the adjustment was different enough between book and carrying value that we had to make the adjustment. So you will see an adjustment in your financials for that, but it's really just a reporting entry. There's no actual impact to your cash. You still have the same cash that you had before the adjustment. So ultimately, it was a great audit. Nothing to scare you with or anything like that. So if you have any questions on the audit report or anything you'd like me to clarify, I'd be happy to answer.
If any of the board members, okay, I see Ms. Travanti.
Yes, thank you, President Golar. And hi, Ms. Shaw. Thanks for zooming in. Nice to meet you. And for the public, this is our first year with this particular auditor. So we're, getting to know each other, right? And so I was reviewing the audit report, and I did have a couple of questions, and the outcome sounds like it was positive, with the exception with one small adjustment, but everything else, you had no findings, no recommendations, or anything like that.
Correct.
So I went to page 80, which is at the end of the report there, and it looks like you took our previous auditor's findings and articulated those findings, and then what the recommendation was by the previous auditor, and then the response by our district to that finding, that particular finding. How did you verify the actions that were taken by the school district to rectify those findings?
Sure. So there were 3 findings, and part of our requirement as the audit firm is we do have to follow up on any prior audit findings. So whether they were our findings or another firm's findings, we have to follow up on those. So of the 3 findings, one of them was related to your compensated absences or your vacation accrual. balance. And as you can see, if you look in the long-term debt section of this audit report, the balance of the liability reduced almost 40%. So the district's done a good job of trying to bring down that liability. So we felt comfortable that they were doing a sufficient job to reduce the liability, which was the prior auditor's concern. And then the second finding had to do with the direct cost allocation with the child nutrition program and how the charges were being split between your child nutrition program and your child and adult care food program. So we reviewed the allocation method, and we felt comfortable that there was a good process in place to properly charge the two programs. And then the final finding had to do with the coronavirus relief funding and a specific charge that was going to extend beyond the life of the grant. Ultimately, the district ended up moving the source of those funds to a different program. So we felt comfortable that they were no longer in violation of the period of performance for that funding program.
Okay, so these three items are no longer an issue as
Correct.
far as you're concerned. Okay. Sure. Okay.
So to follow up on that, Mr. Vanti just said, so these items are no longer an issue, but the accumulated vacation time technically still is an issue, correct? It's just that you have audited and seen that we are addressing it. Is that correct?
Well, you've done a good job of bringing that balance down, which was the prior auditor's concern. You're always going to have a vacation liability because your employees are still going to have vacation time banked, and that's completely normal. And all districts have a vacation liability. The problem that the prior auditors had was that it was a significant balance and that it was very large amounts that were being carried. So we felt like they've made progress in bringing that balance down to a number that would be acceptable.
And that's why you're saying it's not an issue.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right. And then so I have a better understanding of the timeline, when did you get started on this audit work and reviewing?
Sure. So we conduct our audit throughout the year. We do a lot of our internal control testing and compliance testing in the spring. So we're just getting started on the 22-23 audits now. Mm-hmm. So we would have come out to your district in April or May of last year and done some of the testing. And then we did our year-end testing. We started it in September. But with your changeover in the CBO position, there was some difficulty in completing the audit, so we actually were extended out until just recently. So it's been ongoing since April or May of last year.
Okay. Who do you interview as part of this process?
We interview several people. So we interview, because we do testing of controls over payroll. So we would have talked to somebody in the payroll department, HR department, obviously business services we're very involved with. We would have met with various people throughout and even at the school site level. So we have lots of interviews that we conduct throughout.
Is the board president not on your list of those you interview?
Certainly we can interview the board president. That would be part of the typical interview panel if that was something that the district wanted us to do.
I think that's a good practice, and I definitely would like to see that implemented going forward. I guess I was a little surprised, to be honest with you, that there were no findings and recommendations on controls or anything like that, being that this is the first year, and you probably would have taken a deeper dive to have a better understanding of all the aspects of the audit here. I'm glad to hear it. I was just a little surprised that there wasn't something found that gives us a recommendation to go on. And it's important for us as a board to know those things, because as we go forward and Dr. Smith makes recommendations for processes, implementation, software, applications, staffing because of findings, then we can feel confident that he's just pursuing what was found as a result of the audit. I'm done.
Other board members, comments or questions?
I had one question. I believe it is on page sort of 32 and then 35. Just if you can give us or give me a better understanding of fair value, and the comment you made, I think, was that this year the adjustment was substantial enough that it needed to be included, but that we had the same amount of cash on hand, and I didn't understand what that meant.
Sure. So essentially, the value of your cash, according to because most of your cash obviously is invested in the LA County Treasury. And so they invest your dollars in various things throughout the Treasury. If we looked at the true market value, if everything was redeemed that day, the cash was worth less than what you recorded on your books. However, if you called on your cash and you wanted to pull it all out of the Treasury, which again is not allowed, but if you wanted to pull all your cash out of the Treasury, you would get dollar for dollar what you say you have. But ultimately, the value in the market value was about 96%, so 96 cents on the dollar to what you have reported.
Thank you. That makes sense. I understand what you're saying. Got it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
That was exactly my question.
I have one other thing I forgot to ask. I'm so sorry.
No,
just clarification. The second line on the table of contents, management's discussion and analysis, is that what you refer to, your management letter, that's the industry lingo?
So the management discussion and analysis is the first section of the audit report, and that's an opportunity that the district has to talk about the state of the financials, and there are certain required elements, so you'll see that in there where we have you compare certain things from prior year to current year, but ultimately it's just a summarized version of your financials, and it gives you a time to, if you chose to, talk about your district and maybe some of the things that are happening within the district, but it's just a summarized version that is ultimately the district gets to choose what's in that section.
But isn't it standard in the accounting world, in the industry, to issue a management letter?
Correct.
Okay,
So that wouldn't
where
be
is
part
that
of the,
here?
that wouldn't be part of the audit package unless we had something that we needed to disclose. So if there was maybe something that we found control-wise or something that didn't rise to the level of significant deficiency or material weakness, which are the things that we're required to include in there, we could include a management letter to the audit report. Ultimately, the state of California, because that's who we're reporting to on your behalf, requires us to attach the management letter to the report. So if one was to be included, it would be part of this package.
Okay, thank you for explaining, Ms. Shaw.
Sure.
Additional comments or questions? Okay. Well, thank you, Ms. Shaw, for presenting to us and answering our questions. And I think that will wrap that up.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for coming. We are at consent agenda. Routine items of business placed on the consent agenda have been carefully screened by members of the staff and will be acted upon by the board with one motion. Upon request of any person, an item on the consent agenda may be considered separately at its location on the meeting's agenda. The consent agenda item that we've pulled thus far is item 1. Were there other items in our consent agenda that we were considering to pull? Yes, Ms. Lockerbie?
I don't want to pull an item, but I do want to ask a clarifying question based on paperwork that has been placed before me here on the dais tonight.
I would prefer that we pull it. Therefore, if there happens to be other questions that necessitate more discussion, then we will be able to give it time.
Ms. Golar, if I may, it may be helpful to get a sense as to what the question about the documents at the dais are.
Is that okay to broach at this
if
point?
it's a question about documents at the dais versus an item.
Well,
in
it's
consent.
documents on the dais about the consent agenda. It looks like something for personnel assignment report number 13. We have that in front of us right here, and there are some items highlighted. I imagine that was a correction.
It was. Thank you for asking. Essentially, an error was made that put all of the teachers in that section that is on page 1 that
Right.
drips, or not drips, but moves into page 2
Right.
At the exact same school site.
Okay.
And so we caught that error and then made the change. And in addition to the hard copy you have on the dais, the website has also been changed. So the item where our agenda is posted is clickable, and it takes you to the correct document. And that was corrected Tuesday.
Okay, thank you for allowing me to just ask that clarifying question. I just noticed it here on the dais in front of me. So that's all that I have about that. So
okay.
I don't think it needs to be pulled.
You're right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So the motion would be?
I'd like to motion with the exception of item number 1, which is being pulled to action.
So moved.
And we have a second?
No, that's my second. That's the second, right?
Yeah,
You made the motion.
I made the motion.
I made the
You
second.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. And any further discussion, conversation? Seeing none, Ms. Becerra, can we please call the motion to vote?
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Hammond?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Anderson?
Yes.
Board President Golar?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, and with that, as we move to our action items, note that we've taken item 1 from consent and put it as item 1. I guess we'll go 1A under action items.
The Board of Education is requested to approve an agreement with Food Ed to create and care for the outdoor learning spaces at each of the 5 elementary school sites. These spaces will be utilized for garden and food science programs, outdoor literacy gardens, and calming spaces to promote student social emotional well-being. The contract will cover the one-time infrastructure projects for the remainder of the 22-23 school year for each site. In consultation with the elementary school principals and the Director of Maintenance, Operations, and Transportation, Food Ed identified spaces at each elementary school site. Food Ed has partnered with Monrovia Unified School District for its garden and food science programs and garden care since the 2021 school year. Their culminative curriculum and outdoor classrooms follow students from grades TK through 12 with next generation science standards, focused curriculum, and project-based learning experiences for each grade.
And do we have questions? Yes, Ms. Travanti?
Thank you, President Golar. I did ask to pull this item to action, and the reason for that is I really felt the community needed to hear about this contract that we're about to engage, if the board should approve, with Food Ed. We also have Dr. Ritzau here, and I'm glad to see her. But I'm very, very happy to see that this is going to be for all 5 of our elementary schools, that every student in our elementary school is going to benefit from this contract. And something that has stuck in my head the last few years since we really started our relationship with this community organization is that some of our children live in homes where they don't have access to gardens. They don't have they can't plant. They don't have flowers. They can't grow vegetables. They can't do all of those things. They don't learn about pollinators and sustainable planting and all of that. And I think this is a true step forward in equity for our children in all 5 of our elementary schools. And this is why I pulled it to action, because I think the community really needs to understand that. So thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for pulling that, Ms. Travanti. And if I could just add on to that, some people don't know where food comes from. And this, in addition to all of the things that you mentioned, the benefits that this gives, it also lets our students understand where our food comes from and have an opportunity to, food that you pick and that you grow, it just tastes better, and it really develops, it helps to develop a healthy perspective of food and of eating. So it really reaches far into, far and beyond just gardening or science or food. It goes into mental health and physical health as well. So thank you so much for pulling it and for acknowledging it. And thank you, Dr. Ritzow, for being here and for all that you do for our community.
Other comments?
Did you want to say anything, Dr. Ritzow?
Board President, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Smith, cabinet members, thank you again for your valued partnership. Thank you for your dedication and believing in this partnership. This proposal is really special to my staff, especially because this is showing just a growth in our partnership, and it's showing a growth in what we need as experts to do our job better. We already have our education programs in full force. We started with our final chapter today with the TK, K, and first graders. Everybody had a slice of fresh red cabbage, which they all told us was purple, which is the point. And we're just so proud of our work. I'm so proud of my team, and this is going to allow us to do that better. There's a lot of safety issues and gardening issues when we go into these spaces when we haven't built the space. So when we go in with our botanical grade staff and see these spaces where gardens were built in the shade, they're built on ledges, they're built on spaces where they're not equitable, where we can't access with our kids in wheelchairs, we can't access those spaces. We've got tinies 2 feet up in the air at Wild Rose jumping off of a ledge in the garden. So I just wanted to say thank you for taking this proposal seriously to improve these extra spaces. And improve our relationship with MOT, that they kind of take some stuff off of their plate as well, because we're managing those spaces. And just want to encourage you all to come out to our volunteer days. We're long due with inviting you guys to one of our days, or not our volunteer days, you're invited to all of those, but in terms of coming out on one of our days at the schools, it'd be great to see you all out there as well. So thank you again. And we're here, we're doing the project-based learning. We've got every single grade happening, and you're only going to see more of us. So just wanted to say thank you. And any questions about anything?
Nope. Thank you for being here, and thank you for adding to the presentation for this item. Seeing no further conversation, can we motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and Ms. Becerra, can you please call the vote?
Board Member Hammond?
Yes.
Board Member Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board President Golar?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
And 1B in action item, I believe we have our Assistant Super Business Services, Jessica Garcia, presenting our second interim report for the 2022-23 fiscal year.
Thank you, Board President Golar, members of the board, Superintendent Smith, cabinet, and members of the community. I am a little bit nervous tonight. I'm 5 weeks into this new role here, and we just wrapped up the audit, and now here I am presenting second interim to you. Before I get started with presenting the second interim, I do need to thank our fiscal team, and specifically David Conway, our Director of Fiscal Services. The work here tonight could not be done without him. David has really worked hard in bringing me up to speed, and so tonight what I'm sharing with you is the information and the things that David and I have been able to look at in the last 5 weeks together. So just bear with me as I get through my first time presenting to you in this new role, so thank you. So if we can have the next slide. So interim financial reporting for second interim. You know, each year we have to do a reporting, and it's your first interim reporting, and then there's your second interim reporting. Second interim is due by March 15th to our county office, which is LACO, and then they have to report it and submit it to the state to meet their deadlines. The intent of second interim is really to sit back and look at where you were at budget time, where you were at your last reporting period, and where do you stand now, and to look at where you presume to be at the end of the school year, at the end of the fiscal year. And so this gives everybody in the district, the county, the state, our stakeholders here, just a snapshot of the district's financial status as to what we know for now, right? And so what we're doing is we're projecting through till June 30th, assuming that all the funds there are going to be spent as planned. Okay, next slide, please. And so what I want to do for you is just share with you a little bit of information from the State Financial Outlook from the Legislative Analyst's Office. So this last January, the governor put out his budget for 23-24 plans. This is not second interim. This is the outlook I want to give to you as we prepare for next year's budget that we have to look at during this time of the year to kind of consider, right? And so the LAO released their overview of the governor's budget. And right now, the governor's budget is saying that we're going to receive a COLA of 8.13 for 23-24. Well, the LAO had assumed it was going to be right around 8.7 in November and December of this year, and now they're coming back saying, well, it might be a little bit lower. It might be right around the 8.13, what the governor is assuming. One of the things I wanted to point out with you that the LAO does note on the governor's budget is that last year when the governor enacted the 22-23 budget, it was $178 million higher than it was initially thought to be in the January announcement and then in the May revision. And now what the governor has been saying in January is actually opposite for the upcoming 23-24 budget, right? So right now they're projecting it to be about $3.4 billion lower. Now, we don't know if this is going to come to see the day of light. We don't know yet. But what we do know is that the revenue for the state is slowing down slightly because for districts to get funded, our base funding relies on Prop 98. Prop 98 relies on the three big taxes, right? Those three big taxes for us right now, we're seeing a little bit of a slow decline in that. We're not seeing the high amounts we saw last year. And so what the governor is doing right now is he's looking at all areas to ensure that we get fully funded. Now, one of the things I do want to point out to you is that the governor hasn't used any of his tools that he has available to him if he needed to pivot and make a change to funding us. He still has his ability to touch the rainy day fund. He hasn't done any of that. And so what the LAO is telling us is that districts, just be advised, we'll see what happens with the revenues as the May revise comes out. And so what I want to do is, because this is being shared with us already, I want to make sure that the board and the community is aware of what we're hearing. And so there's more to come in May. Okay, next slide, please. And what I've done here is I wanted to update the board and share a little bit of information. So this is the enrollment and attendance history in our district. And it's from 2017-18 and it's projected out to 24-25. In the blue column, you'll see that is our enrollment. Okay, I'm seeing anywhere from a 3% decline, goes 3.5% decline, and then some years it's about 1.5% decline in enrollment. Overall, the state for the last 3 to 5 years, according to the CDE, they've seen a 5.6% average for decline in enrollment. There's been an exit from our state. And so what the governor's office did was they thought, well, we're going to give a remedy to districts, and that remedy was that 3 prior year rolling average. Well, Sacramento feels like that has been remedied. Districts are still feeling the impact to it, though. And so we are in this space still where we're going, what more are they going to do for us? Are they going to do something for us? Sacramento's stance is the problem's been solved, but the districts are still feeling that pain, right? And so in here on the gray column, you'll notice that that's the attendance. And if you look particularly at 22-23, there's 3 columns there. And what I did was I wanted to show you what the enrollment is that we had projected, that we had on census day, which was the 5,045 students. And then the gray bar right there shows you what we projected our ADA is going to be when we get funded. During budget season, we have to project what we're going to be funded for. That funding piece is going to happen in P2, which is closer to April, May. Okay, that's when we're going to get our numbers in to tell us what we're going to receive. I threw this third bar in there because that's important for you to see where we are as of P1. So our most recent reporting in January was P1, and so you'll see we're slightly off. Too close to adjust now because we're going to see where we land at the P2 period. But because of the funding model in place right now, we're still allowed to receive funding based on the 1920 ADA, so no impact on our current year funding. Okay? Next slide, please. Now, this right here is our major assumptions. And so what these major assumptions, what I wanted to show you is when we adopted our budget, the COLA and COLA adjustment there, which is the effective COLA, was 9.86. And you'll see that adopted budget right there, 9.86, at first interim is 13.26. Why? Well, because when the governor's budget was enacted, remember in a couple of slides earlier, I said it went up $178 million. Well, therefore, the COLA went up with it. And so it's important for us to recognize that, the January governor's budget comes out, May revision comes out, we plan our budget, and then when the enacted budget comes out, there can be a material change, right? And so that's why the effective COLA of 13.26, you'll see that at the first interim. And so with the new information we have now, we have the projected COLA for 23-24 at 8.13, and the projected COLA for 24-25 at 3.54. On here, you also see the ADA, and we have the unduplicated pupil percentage. That unduplicated pupil percentage is related to the funding that we receive within our LCFF supplemental and concentration dollars, right? So that particular percentage feeds into how we get our certain calculation for supplemental and concentration. And then you'll also notice that there's a new change. STRS rates stay the same, but PERS, from the last time budget was presented to you at first interim, we have a change for the 23-24, 24-25 PERS rates. So now they're 27% and 28.10%. Okay, next slide, please. So let's talk about our district now. That was a little bit more at the global level, statewide, what's going on. Let's talk about Monrovia. So in Monrovia, for our district, these are our second interim updates. The last time we brought the budget to you, this wasn't in there, and so now it's time for you to find out what's been changed. So the salary and benefit budgets have been updated to reflect the negotiated salary increase that was approved on December 14th. So you'll notice that expenses went up in the salaries and benefits. Well, that's because it's tied to the increase that was negotiated. There is also an increase in the LCFF funding, updating for the projected state COLA and the unduplicated pupil percentage. So in prior slide, I shared with you the COLAs and I shared with you the unduplicated pupil percentage, and these are the dollars tied to those changes. There's also an increase in the 23-24 and 24-25 special ed and mandated cost revenue, updated for state COLA. That's projected for 23-24 and 24-25. And so these are the dollars associated with that as well. Next slide, please. So this right here, this is a comparison slide so you can see where we were for LCFF funding as a whole in 21-22, and then what contributes to where we're projecting we're going to close the year out for our LCFF funding for this year. You'll see that the base funding went up $5.3 million. We had a supplemental increase of $500,000. That concentration change went down slightly, and that's particularly tied to that UPP rate. If UPP goes up, then concentration will move with it as well. UPP goes down, concentration moves with that as well. And then something new for districts this year is that we're sharing out is there's an add-on line for TK. In our particular district, we have TK add-on for $189,000. And so that add-on is tied to the enrollment and attendance of our projected TK population in our school district, okay? So for this year, what we're projecting is a total of $59.5 million in LCFF funding, base and supplemental concentration, in addition to the TK add-on. Okay. Next slide. This is a snapshot of of the unrestricted general fund budget. I usually like to focus on the unrestricted budget because this is the area of the fund, of the budget that is not the one-time dollars. On the restricted side, you'll see that's where the COVID dollars were, that's where our special ed funds are. The general fund, this side right here tells a bigger picture of the district. So I share with you the multi-year projection of where we were on our beginning balance. So for current year, right now at second interim, we had a beginning balance in our revenue of $12.2 million. We brought in $60 million in revenue. We're planning to spend $63 million for this year, and we're going to have an ending balance of 9.8. Of that ending fund balance, we are required by EDCO to put aside a 3% reserve for economic uncertainty, and we can certainly meet that in each year. And then outside of that, we have $222,000 assigned, and then we have unassigned balances of $7.2 million this year. And as we project for the out years, we get up to $15.8 million in our ending fund balance. One of the things I want to point out for you is that the revenues and expenses here for current year, the expense component is if we expend everything in our plan for the year, it would be $63 million, right? And as you're well aware, some plans don't all come to light, and so our expenses may go down, or some plans may get added on too, so our expenses could go up slightly. And so we do monitor that as a district, and so you will see what we're going to estimate when we present the budget to you in May. You'll see how we're estimating the year to close out, and it shouldn't be too far different from that from that expenditure that you're seeing now. And the revenues there are reflective of what we anticipate the COLA to be in the out years based on the information that we've already received and with the enrollment and attendance rates that we are projecting. So you are seeing that as true to the story that we can share from what we know to be now. Okay, next slide, please. So next steps, we have the governor's May revise. It's typically the second weekend of May. By the time districts get to that governor's revise, we're pretty much done with budget because we use what they give us in January. We use the different information that we're receiving from county offices, right? So just a couple weeks back, I went to LACO and they had a public finance committee meeting there hosted by FICMAT. Mike Fine spoke, and he gave us more insight as to how we should prepare our budgets. So we're keeping our finger on the pulse, okay, just to ensure that we're getting the most relevant, important, real-time information there so that our district is in the know at the state level and at the local level of what we need to do for the budget to be able to be prepared. The other thing that I'll have you know is that when we go to these events, and I go to these, we also are shared information of what's happening in corporate America, right? And so everybody at these things are talking right now about, well, there was the layoffs in corporate America, so what's going on with school districts? Well, what I can share is that we're being told school districts are at our healthiest we've ever been right now. And that doesn't mean we're going to be healthy forever, but what we're going to do is ensure that we are paying attention to what's going on and making proper plans to stay healthy as a district. And each district has the ability to stay healthy based on how we manage ourselves here, right? And so the next time that we come to you will be at budget time. We'll be presenting estimated actuals, which is, again, it's this budget I just shared with you today, but it's going to get to an even closer picture of how do we think we're going to end the year. The estimated actuals is us truly estimating by communicating with all departments and sites within the district of how we think we're going to close our year out financially. And so then we'll come to you and we'll report that. At the same time, we'll come for a public hearing for LCAP and budget to have that hearing take place so that we can go to June for our adoption. Okay? Next slide, please. All right, any questions?
Yes, I see Ms. Anderson. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Garcia. It was a very thorough report. A couple of questions, just to make sure I'm understanding. With the 3% reserve, is that on the ending balance, on the beginning balance, on an average?
Yeah, the 3%, that's a great question. What it is we look at the total expenses for both the unrestricted and restricted side of the budget. We also look at our transfer outs from the budget, meaning what are we giving from the general fund side to the restricted side? For instance, what we transfer over as a contribution to special education, right? So we take all those expenses and we take 3% of that total and we reserve it from the unrestricted side of the fund and we put it aside. Did that answer your question?
Very thoroughly. Thank you. That makes sense. If I'm looking on the total unrestricted general fund budget slide, which I don't need you to put up there, Ms. Becerra, just for your reference. It looks like a very positive projection going forward, more so than a couple of years ago when everybody was projecting that we would be in dire financial straits across the state. Am I reading that correctly?
You are reading it correct.
Fantastic. That's really good news. And then the final question is, and if you're not prepared to answer this tonight, I totally understand that. As we move forward with Measure MM and the bond funds, our budget's going to look significantly different in terms of dollars, but that's a very restrictive piece. Is that just a different budget that we look at, or is that some sort of line item in this budget, or how does that work?
That's a great question. And the bond dollars actually go into a separate fund.
Okay.
It is not included in the general fund. It is a separate fund that we will look at separate.
So then is that something that we will also be reported out on when you do this, or is that a sort of a different analysis that we will, and that's way out if I'm
it's
okay
actually
waiting on that.
we've had a measure here in the past, and David, if you want to share with me the fund number. Fund 21 in our district, and in your SACS, in the packet that you do receive, David, do they get SACS forms here? So in your binder, there are SACS forms. The SACS forms, there is a section called Fund Forms. Fund 01 is the beginning, which is what I presented today. And there are funds that follow after. It's typically Fund 11, Fund 12, Fund 13, and then Fund 21, okay? And so Fund 21, that's where you're going to see the bond and all that information in there.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Other questions or comments?
I just have a comment, President Golar.
Oh, okay. I saw Ms. Lockerbie's hand.
No, my only comment is I wouldn't even have guessed that you've only been here 5 weeks. Thank you for your presentation. Very clear and concise and very easy to follow. Appreciate that.
Okay. Lockerbie.
I echo Ms. Travanti's comment. I know that you've joined mid-year, which means mid-budget, and I've seen this over the course of over 4 years, and it's extremely daunting to me. So thank you so much for being here and for giving such a comprehensive overview of things. My questions, if the projected, and just a preface, I'm not a financial advisor. This is all very difficult to understand and to weed through. So my questions come from not understanding. So if the projected COLA for 23-24 is 8.13%, and for 24-25 goes down to 3.54%, and our PERS contributions goes up to 28.10%, how do we have an increased unassigned fund balance for 24-25 of about 15 million? How does that fund balance increase?
So I'm going to have to look at that particular fund balance increase in detail and give you that answer in a Friday report. But here's what I can say, the effect that COLA has when you're seeing COLA go 1% and then it goes down. And in some districts, funds, you'll still see that the LCFF revenue is still growing, right? Because that COLA carries forward. So you get the 8.13 current year, you're going to get the 8.13 the next year. They're just adding 3.54 on it. So you're building your revenues. Now, as far as the ending fund balance, being here 5 weeks, I haven't had a great opportunity to dig into all those areas. But what I can tell you is I can provide you more information in a Friday update so that you can have some thorough information.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. My next question. So I have heard from several agencies out there, speaking the general California level whispers, but from agencies like the LAO and CSBA and news outlets, they're mentioning a fiscal cliff for California in 2 years. And they're recommending that educational school districts basically sock money away. I don't know a better way to say that. Is that something that you have heard, and are we addressing that?
So I'll start with part one of that. I've always heard, so I come from the background of always be conservative, okay? We always are looking to plan for that rainy day. Whether you're hearing that something's going to happen or not, it's fiscally responsible of us to still plan on our own, okay? As far as the fiscal cliff, yes, I have been hearing about that since COVID started, and the solution that the state thought that they were putting to us for that fiscal cliff, because the fiscal cliff was going to be as a result of the enrollment decline and the ADA decline that we've been experiencing. And so the solution that the state put forward to us was that 3 prior year rolling average. And so they thought that that was going to solve it. I'm still hearing that there is something coming in a couple years. We just don't know what exactly is coming yet. Okay. And as far as the second part of the question, I can't give you that answer just yet. I couldn't assess the district in 5 weeks to say if we are.
I appreciate that. And these are my questions, and this is my level of understanding, however deep or shallow that may be. I appreciate that, and these questions are just to help me better understand this, because it is, for the viewing public, it's a nice big bunch of information. Let me see if I have another. Those are my only questions. Thank you.
Other board members, Mr. Hammond?
Hopefully mine's easier. I need clarification on something. I think I know what the answer is, but I want to hear it. There's been a slight increase into special education, except for the government does not fund us fully for what special education is. In 1978, when it was created and mandated that public schools would do special ed, it was promised to be funded at 40%. I think the amount that we're funded for is drastically less on that. Do you know the percentage?
I need to follow up and get the accurate percentage for you. I think I know what it is, but I'm not going to just shoot it out there. Let me get you that Friday update so you have good information.
I think it's 14. It's pretty close. I'm probably pretty sure. So this gratuitous $135,000 is so somebody can stand back and point at an easel and say, look what I've done for you lately. But the fact remains that the burden of special education is on our general fund. Excuse me. Do you know currently how much we're going to be subsidizing special ed through our general fund?
David, is it 7 million? What's the exact number?
Over 10% of our budget is used to subsidize something that's mandated, that was supposed to be funded at 40%, that we get about 14% for. So forgive me for not raising the flag of, oh my gosh, I'm so happy what you've given me lately, when we as a community are losing tremendous amounts of value in education dollars because we have to subsidize something that is forced upon us. More of a statement than I'm looking for clarification. I think I understand it pretty well. By the way, thanks for the $135,000, Sacramento.
Ms. Anderson, did you have comments or questions?
No, Ms. Garcia already addressed mine. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Jessica Garcia. We are looking now to motion for approval of a positive certification. So that is our action item.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we have a move and we have a second. Any more discussion, clarification? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Becerra, can we please call for a vote?
Board Member Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
I still have some unanswered questions and some understanding about us being able to meet our financial obligations in the out years. As you mentioned, the out years, that's a good term. Because of this, and I appreciate that you will be getting us information on the next board update, and I understand that I have some questions, that you weren't able to answer right now, and I appreciate that. But because I'm still not clear on some things for our out years, I'm going to abstain from this vote.
Board Member Chavanti?
Yes.
Board Member Hammond?
Yes.
Board President Golar?
Yes.
Motion carries 4 and 1 abstention.
Okay. Dr. Pachia, Assistant Superintendent of HR, our next item. Clinical Affiliation Agreement, California State University San Marcos and Monrovia Unified School District.
The Board of Education is requested to approve this affiliation agreement between California State University San Marcos and the Monrovia Unified School District for 5 years, beginning March 8, 2023 and terminating March 8, 2028. California State University San Marcos Residential Master's Program will prepare students for practice in the field of speech-language pathology. The program will prepare individuals to practice across the entire scope of the field, such as prevention, assessment, and treatment of communication and swallowing disorders across multiple settings.
Questions, clarifications, discussion? Ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
And Ms. Becerra, can we call for the vote?
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Hammond?
Yes.
Board Member Anderson?
Yes.
Board President Golar?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Dr. Pachia, I believe you have the next one, the Memorandum of Understanding between Los Angeles Pacific University and the Monrovia Unified School District.
The Board of Education is requested to approve a memorandum of understanding between Los Angeles Pacific University and the Monrovia Unified School District for a term beginning July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2028. Los Angeles Pacific University offers an accelerated teaching program designed for prospective elementary teacher and special education teachers and an accelerated combined teaching degree and California credential program designed for prospective K-8 teachers.
Questions or clarifications? Okay, seeing none. Could we have a motion, please?
So moved.
Go We're good?
So moved.
And I'll second.
Excellent. And we'll call for the vote.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Hammond?
Yes.
Board Member Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board President Golar?
Yes.
Motion?
And did we get Anderson?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, though, for checking in.
All right. Sorry, Ms. Becerra.
That's okay. Motion carries 5-0.
Dr. Pachia, approval of additional work days for the high school assistant principal positions.
The Board of Education is requested to approve a change in the number of work days for high school assistant principal positions. Monrovia High School is open year-round for academic, co- and extracurricular activities. The high school assistant principal is an integral part of the school functioning and having the administrative support necessary for year-round learning and activities. The current work year for the MHS assistant principal is 215 days, which is 11 days less than the principal, which can cause gaps in the administrative support at various times of the year. Adding the additional 11 days to the high school assistant principal's work year will allow the principal to create a flexible schedule to ensure an administrator is available year-round to see the needs of students, staff, and the community.
Questions, comments? Yes, Ms. Lockerbie?
Thank you, Madam President. Has this been discussed with the current high school assistant principals?
So the Mr. Ayala, the principal, was provided the information. We had talked to the assistant principals actually last summer about a couple different options, but most recently the information was consulted with, and we spoke directly with Mr. Ayala, who in turn spoke with the assistant principals.
And what was Principal Ayala's input on this?
Mr. Ayala felt it would be beneficial and supportive of students and staff at the high school.
Thank you. Will this take the burden off of high school not all, but will this help the high school counselors work over the summer as the counselors prepare for summer school in the upcoming school year. Will this be some support in that area?
Certainly. The assistant principals, along with the principal, work collaboratively with the counselors to launch summer school, as you said, and to oversee, the assistant principals will oversee summer school, but also just the continuing work that happens with the master schedule throughout the entire summer as we lead into the school year, prepping for students' arrivals in August.
So this last question that I have, you might not have the information for right now, and I appreciate that. And if you don't have it and you could get it back to us later, I'd appreciate it. But do you happen to know what the work days, the total work days are for high school assistant principals around our area, like districts like Arcadia, Azusa, Duarte, et cetera?
Off the top of my head, no, but a typical assistant principal calendar, again, is in that range of somewhere between 215 and 226 days, typically aligned pretty closely with the principal's schedule, but I'll go back and review the districts that you've requested, and we'll get you that information.
That'd be wonderful. I appreciate it. Those are all of my questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have questions, comments?
President Golar?
Yeah, Ms. Travanti?
I just want to make a comment that I think this is a great idea, and I hope that having these extra days where the vice principals can work with the principal on the registration day, because last year at the high school, it was really the first time going through that process, something that should have been in process many years. But last year was the first time, and there's some learning opportunities from that registration day, and this will be a great opportunity for them to work through some of those issues ahead of time, whereas Principal Ayala didn't really have anybody to help him with that process, other than, of course, district staff. But this, I think, will go a long way for that, to make that smooth. Yeah. Thank you. That was my comment.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Well, can we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and can we call for the vote?
Board Member Hammond?
Yes.
Board Member Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board President Golar?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Dr. Puccia, approval of job description, alternative education principal.
Yes, thank you. The Board of Education is requested to approve a new job description for alternative education principal. The alternative education programs of Monrovia Unified School District provide services to the most at-risk students in the district while ensuring access to academic programs that lead to college and career readiness for all students. The leader of the alternative education program requires a highly specialized knowledge of best practices for instruction, social emotional support, and career and technical education. The new job description for alternative education principal will allow us to recruit and hire a leader with a keen focus on these areas for the MUSD alternative education programs.
Questions, comments? Seeing none, can we motion for approval?
Move to approve.
Second.
And we'll call for the vote. Ms. Becerra?
Board Member Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Hammond?
Yes.
Board President Golar?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Dr. Puccia, collective memorandum of understanding for an early retirement incentive for eligible employees.
The Board of Education is requested to approve the collective memorandums of understanding for the Monrovia Unified School Teachers Association, California School Employees Association, Monrovia Association of School Administrators, and the Confidential Classified Management for an early retirement incentive for eligible employees. Staffing for the upcoming school year requires as much accurate information as possible to ensure the most effective recruitment and hiring of staff in classified and certificated positions. Incentivizing retirement age personnel to provide their intention to retire as early as possible allows for more accurate planning, recruitment, and hiring of classified and certificated staff, particularly in hard-to-fill and highly technical positions that may be vacated by retirees.
Are there any questions or comments?
Just to clarify, this isn't an incentive to get people to retire. It's an incentive so that those that are planning to retire can notify the district as soon as possible for planning purposes.
100% correct.
Okay.
I'm not sure $1,000 would incentivize retirement.
Well, you never know. All right.
Yes?
Okay. I'm good. Thank you.
Anyone else? All righty. Well, can we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
And Ms. Becerra, because we call the vote.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Hammond?
Yes.
Board Member Anderson?
Yes.
Board President Golar?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Pachia. We're now going to go to Superintendent Dr. Smith. We have a resolution number 2223-16, recognizing March 5th through the 11th as National School Social Work Week. Yes?
I have a different number than Ms. Golar just read. Is it National School Social Work Week? I have 2223-5047.
Oh, that's the agenda item.
Oh, I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. Pardon me.
No worries. Thank you, Board President Golar. The laughter at the dais, we were wondering if somebody might run up here with their retirement paperwork. So forgive us for that. That was what you probably couldn't see from your
I didn't
vantage
catch
point.
that one.
That being said, thank you for introducing the item. Essentially, this is a resolution to recognize this week, or March 5th through 11th, as National School Social Work Week, celebrating the contribution of social workers to the students of the Monrovia Unified School District. Our social worker, who you met earlier today.
Questions or comments? Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
And we'll call for the vote. Ms. Becerra?
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Hammond?
Yes.
Board Member Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board President Golar?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Next item, resolution proclaiming March 6th through the 10th as National School Breakfast Week. Dr. Smith?
Thank you. The Board of Education is requested to adopt this resolution, which proclaims the week of March 6th through 10th as National School Breakfast Week, and declaring that breakfast served during this week will continue to be offered free to all Monrovia Unified School District students. The food services professionals in our district are greatly appreciated for their dedication and strong work ethic to making breakfast for Monrovia students not only nutritious, but also ensures students' academic success during the school day so they can reach their goals. We also shared information with the board about where to go this week if they would like to celebrate National School Breakfast Week right along with the team and the kids. Thank you.
Questions, comments?
I want to know if the resolution has to be adopted before we celebrate, or is it sort of amorphous?
I believe there might be ed code saying you cannot celebrate this without passing this resolution.
So we can't go have breakfast unless
we will
okay. Our hands are tied.
that specific ed code provision.
Other comments, questions? Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second. Oh.
We have a motion and a second? Okay. Ms. Becerra, can we please call for the vote?
Board Member Hammond?
Yes.
Board Member Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board President Golar?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Next item, appoint initial members of Measure MM Citizens Oversight Committee. Dr. Smith.
It is recommended that the Board of Education approve initial community members to the Measure MM Citizens Oversight Committee. All Prop 39 or 55% bond measures require that a Citizens Oversight Committee be established for the purpose of reviewing the expenditures made and informing the public concerning those expenditures. As the public and community are well aware, the district successfully passed Measure MM, and the results of which were certified by the board on January 18th, 2022. At that time, the board adopted a resolution of intent to form a Citizens Oversight Committee for Measure MM.
Questions or comments?
Okay. President Golar, sorry,
Yes,
I'm
Mr. Vante.
being very vocal tonight, aren't I? I just wanted to say thank you to all those who showed interest and applied to be on this committee, this very important oversight committee, and you know, just looking at those on this agenda item, it's a very well-rounded group, and I'm very, very glad that they volunteered and that they're committed, at least for the next 2 years. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Ms. Golar.
Thank you, and thanks to them. Anyone else? Okay, and so can we motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
And we'll call for the vote.
Board Member Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
No.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Hammond?
Yes.
Board President Golar?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Okay. Well, we're now to future meeting dates. We do have a regularly scheduled board meeting for March the 22nd, 6:30 for open session. April the 12th, again, 6:30, open session, and April the 26th. Our new business, our parent and teacher conferences have begun for grades K through 5. They happen March the 6th through March the 10th. And all sites will be closed for Cesar Chavez Day, March the 31st. All sites will be closed for our spring break, April 3rd through April the 7th. And our open house season is upon us. Please look at the website. There are a number of open houses occurring during the month of March, starting March 15th at MHS and going through April, actually, for Brad Oaks and Wild Rose. Were there any other items needing to add for new business here on our agenda? Yes, Ms. Lockerbie?
Oh, I was wondering if we could add the Performing Arts Gala on March 24th. And that's, I believe, at the Doubletree. Is it? I'm not sure. Ms. Becerra, it's at the Doubletree?
Yes.
Thank you. And that's March 24th.
Excellent.
And can tickets still be purchased to attend?
We will inquire.
I'm sorry to throw that out there at the last minute. Thank you.
Are there other items of new business? Other items adding to the agenda? Okay, looks like we're good. And now, before we recess our open session, since we have our closed session after our open session, I would like to recess tonight's open meeting in memory of two special individuals. First, we have Marjorie Rose, who passed away on March the 2nd. Ms. Rose started at Canyon Early Learning Center in 1986 and continued to serve until her retirement in 2012. For 26 years, Ms. Rose made a positive impact on our youngest students. And thank you for providing this information. On a personal note, I happen to have had the pleasure of working with Marjorie Rose as my mentor entering the profession of teaching when she was a teacher at Serendipity, and that was prior to her coming to MUSD. And then full circle, we worked together in MTA activities, and really, really with sadness to hear of her passing. Next, we would also like to remember Mr. Lloyd Higgins. Coach Higgins worked at Monrovia High School from 1986 to 2008 as a physical education teacher. Coach Higgins' vast accomplishments were always understated. From him being a Hall of Famer, a Coach of the Year, and one of the most decorated coaches in the California Community College Athletic Association history. He was an inspirational force, and his passing is a huge loss to the many students and athletes that he worked with throughout the years. Mr. Higgins was also my colleague as well as a mentor, and it is actually because of his urging that it ended up with an administration credential and a master's degree. So again, both Marjorie Rose and Lloyd Higgins, our prayers and thoughts are with your families at this time. So we will recess to our closed meeting.
Good evening. At this time, we would like to adjourn the Board of Education closed session and reconvene the regular Board of Education open session meeting. In closed session, the board took action to non-reelect employee number KD 701-6536, certificated employee, pursuant to Education Code Section 44929.21b, effective at the end of the 2022-2023 school year. The board directed the superintendent or his designee to send out appropriate legal notices. The roll call vote was as follows. Ayes, board members Travanti, Hammond, Anderson, and Golar. Abstentions, board member Lockerbie. The Board of Education unanimously appointed Ashley Leone to the position of middle school assistant principal and Morena Tejada Fisher to the position of high school assistant principal. At this time, we will adjourn the regular Board of Education open session meeting at 9:28 p.m.